There's a moment in a woman's life when she has two choices. She can sit quietly while someone humiliates her at her own family's dinner table, or she can stand up and set the whole thing on fire. I set it on fire. My name is Sophia. I'm 29, and the night I exposed my husband's affair in front of 40 people was the same night I learned something even worse. The woman he was cheating with might be his half-sister. I know how that sounds, but stay with me, because the scariest part wasn't the twist. It was how long they had made me feel crazy for noticing what was right in front of me. My husband's name is Nathan. We've been married for 5 years, and for 5 years there has been one constant source of tension in our marriage. Her name was Chloe. Chloe wasn't a coworker, she wasn't a new friend. She was Nathan's best friend since childhood. 8 years old, birthday parties, graduation photos, inside jokes from a life I wasn't part of. And she was at our wedding, front row, smiling at me like she was happy for us. At first, I tried to be the cool wife, the mature wife, the wife who doesn't compete with a friend who's been around forever. But there were always small things that never sat right. A look that lingered a second too long. A text notification he'd flip face down. A joke between them that I wasn't supposed to understand. And every single time I brought it up, Nathan did the same thing. He'd take my hand, look me straight in the eye, and say, "Sophia, she's practically my sister. You're overreacting." Practically my sister. That phrase became a spell, a shutdown button. And for years, it worked. Because I didn't want to be that wife, the jealous one, the insecure one, the one who controls her husband. And then I met his parents, because they mattered more than I realized. Nathan's mom, Linda, was kind, the kind of mother-in-law you pray for. She treated me like family from day one. She noticed my discomfort. She didn't dismiss it. One day, she even told me quietly, "You have every right to set boundaries. Talk to him." But Nathan's dad, Robert was the opposite. Robert adored Chloe. He'd known her family for decades. He treated her like she belonged. And any time I showed even a hint of discomfort, Robert would make it a public lesson. At dinners, at holidays, at gatherings. "You need to get over your insecurities. Chloe is part of this family whether you like it or not. Not everything is about you, Sophia." And I'd smile. I'd swallow it. Because I didn't want to cause a scene. That's important. Because if you're wondering how a woman ends up exposing an affair at Thanksgiving, it starts with being trained to shut up politely. 2 months before Thanksgiving, Nathan started changing. Not dramatically, not overnight, but in that way only a wife notices. He came home later. He slept with his phone face down. He stopped asking about my day. He stopped looking at me the way he used to. I told myself it was stress, work, life, anything but what my gut was whispering. Then one night, he was in the shower. His phone lit up on the nightstand, and something in me snapped into clarity. Not anger, clarity. I picked it up. I wish I hadn't. I wish I could go back to not knowing, but I can't, because what I found was 6 months of messages between my husband and Chloe, and none of it read like siblings, not even close. It was flirty, it was intimate, it was possessive. It was the kind of texting you do when you think you're getting away with it. I sat on the edge of my bed in silence for 20 minutes, just reading, rereading, trying to find a sentence that would make it innocent. There wasn't one. When Nathan came out, I didn't scream, I didn't throw the phone, I didn't beg for the truth. I just held it up and said, "Explain." He didn't deny it. He cried. He said it was a mistake. He said he loved me. He begged me not to leave. And I didn't know what to do. I was numb, so I stayed quiet. Not because I forgave him, because I was trying to survive the shock. I told him I needed time to process, and I carried that secret like a stone in my chest for 2 weeks. Then came Thanksgiving. Nathan's parents hosted the annual dinner. He asked me to come. He said, "We need to act normal while we figure things out." He said, "It'll look strange if you don't show up." I almost didn't go. I should have trusted that instinct. But I went. And of course, Chloe was there. She walked in like nothing had happened, hugged Linda, laughed with Robert, poured herself a glass of wine, and settled in like she belonged, like she hadn't spent the last 6 months destroying my marriage. I held it together through appetizers, through small talk, through the first hour of pretending my world wasn't on fire. And then Robert opened his mouth. We were halfway through dinner when he made a comment, casual, offhand, about Chloe always being part of this family. Then he looked directly at me and said, "Some people just need to learn to accept that." 40 people at that table, aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. And Robert chose that moment to remind me of my place. The room went quiet. My hand touched my arm under the table like he was trying to hold me down, and something in me broke, not into tears, into steel. I stood up. I looked Robert in the eyes, and I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You know what, Robert? I would accept it if she wasn't sleeping with my husband." You could have heard a pin drop. Chloe's face went white. Nathan's head snapped toward me like he'd been shot. And for the first time in 5 years, no one told me I was overreacting. Linda stood up, not to stop me, to face her son. She was shaking, but her voice was calm. She told Nathan and Chloe they had disrespected me, disrespected their home, disrespected everything that table was supposed to mean. Robert, of course, tried to turn it on me. He said affairs happen. He said I shouldn't have aired it out. He said I was embarrassing the family. But the family wasn't staring at me. They were staring at Nathan, at Chloe, at the truth. I walked out without another word, drove straight to my mom's house. And that's when the text started. Nathan begged, "Please come home. I'll cut her off. We can fix this." I read every message. I didn't answer. Let him feel what silence sounds like. Then Chloe texted me. Not remorse, not apology. She called me lazy, said I didn't deserve him, said she could treat him better. And then she said something that made my blood go cold. She said she was crushed they couldn't be together. That sentence hit wrong, not because of jealousy, because it didn't sound like a fling. It sounded like a plan. While all of this was happening, Linda and I kept talking, and Linda did something I didn't expect. She started asking questions, real questions, about why Robert was so protective of Chloe, why he defended her like she was his own, why he always treated Chloe like family and treated me like an outsider. Someone online even pointed it out to Linda, how strange it was. And once Linda saw it, she couldn't unsee it. She confronted Robert. And what came out wasn't one secret, it was a lifetime of them. Robert had cheated on Linda throughout their marriage, multiple times, with multiple women, and one of those women was Chloe's mother. Linda demanded a DNA test, or she said she was filing for divorce immediately, and Robert, cornered, agreed. Waiting for those results was torture. Nathan kept texting me. Chloe went strangely quiet. And then the results came back. Nathan and Chloe shared a father, Robert, half-siblings. For a moment, I couldn't breathe because my brain tried to process what that meant. Not just betrayal, but something darker, something that shouldn't exist. When Linda confronted Nathan, he didn't act romantic. He acted sick, disgusted, like he was realizing his whole life had been manipulated. He cut Chloe off completely. He signed our divorce papers without fighting. He stopped reaching out. Robert signed his divorce papers too, not because he wanted to, because Linda had the kind of proof that destroys reputations. And Chloe? Chloe still wanted Nathan, even after the DNA test, even after everything. That told me exactly what kind of person she was. And here's the last twist I learned weeks later. Chloe was pregnant, not with Nathan's child, with someone else's. The man's wife found out and reached out to me, of all people, because she didn't know who else could understand what it feels like to be collateral damage. I stopped following Chloe after that. I didn't need to watch her burn to heal. What I know is this: Linda and I are closer than ever. We're even talking about going into business together, something we used to joke about but never had the courage to do. Turns out being burned by the same fire bonds you in a way nothing else can. My divorce is moving forward. The papers are signed. And for the first time in months, I can breathe. People ask me if I regret what I did, if I regret standing up at that table, if I should have handled it privately, quietly, gracefully. Here's my answer. Robert humiliated me at his dinner table, in front of everyone. He did it because he thought I would sit there and take it. He thought I was someone who could be spoken to like that. He was wrong. I didn't expose that affair to be dramatic. I did it because I had been silenced for 5 years, told I was crazy, told I was insecure, told I was overreacting, and I was done being quiet. The truth was going to come out eventually. I just helped it along. So tell me, was I wrong? Should I have stayed quiet at that dinner? Or would you have done the same thing the moment they tried to shame you in public? Drop your verdict in the comments. And if you've ever had a Chloe in your life, someone always a little too close, a little too comfortable, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, subscribe, and share. Because here, one story always leads to another.